you the text. Did not stumble. How about that? Thank you. Hey, y'all. My name is Marti Ruby, and I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Marti.
And I think I'm going to be here just a couple of more hours, and I'll be saying, I'm Marti Ruby, and I'm an alcoholic. And you have the nerve to say, I have an accent. I'm just astounded to get to be here with you all this weekend. And I'm going to weep a lot because I've missed y'all a whole lot. And there's something, Don L. talks about the music of Alcoholics Anonymous, and what I've gotten to hear this weekend is the symphony of Alcoholics Anonymous. And it is powerful, and it is palpable, and I'm delighted to be all up in it. Thanks to Jimmy and Mary Beth for having me here. And Karen C. and her posse over at table 5. They've just treated me so well. My husband and I talked this morning. Am I too tall? Thank you. Thank you, Lee. My husband and I were speaking this morning. He says, well, what have you learned this weekend so far? And I said, well, I've just done a couple things. I've been laughing, I've been crying, and I've been identifying. And it's been so nice to get to hear the folks that we've gotten here. I hope if you didn't hear every single speaker up to this point, get it from Lee, because you don't want to miss a second. All right. I have a sobriety date. Yes, I do. October the 19th of 1989. And I'm as grateful as I know how to be about that right there. And, it's just the only day in my life that changed my whole life. And I love that what people have been talking about so far is the journey of sobriety. Because people have been standing up here with a lot of time, y'all. A lot of time. And talking about what they were like at 5 years or 10 years or 20 years or 30 years. And yes, let me tell you, it's been a ride. And I believe if I was trying to stay sober today on what I had at 10 years or 15 or 5 or whatever, God bless you all. But fortunately, it's like it says in the 12 and 12, days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months, months turn into years, and those years become this amazing life. I like to refer to my life as a pinch me life. And it's not because of the stuff, as has already been alluded to. It's not the stuff. Well, the stuff's pretty good. I'm going to say. It's, like I say, continuously working at a job for like years really adds to your income potential. I'm just saying. I know when I got here I was unemployable. What I had done is gone into business for myself. What that meant was I had a business card. That's it. Didn't do anything, but I had a card. Right? A little bit about me is I was thinking about my friend Jimmy Dean, who introduced me one time at an event, and he goes, well, I'll give you Marti, and she's just a real bad drunk. Thanks, Jim. That was real sweet. But truer words are never spoken, And I'm not. What I'd like you to believe is I'm the kind of drunk who sits in the corner and cries, but I'm not. I'm the kind of drunk that throws things at you, and breaks things, and screams, and it is violent, unkind, treacherous. And I got to tell you, when I got here, what I wanted you to believe was that I had a husband when I got here, and I love to think about alcoholics. Alcoholics are the masters of rapid involvement. I met this old boy, and we decided we were going to be married in about 6 weeks. That was a rather long engagement for alcoholics, frankly. But the truth of the matter is, I've met a man who could drink like me, do other things like me, all alcohol's little friends, and wasn't going to complain about my drinking. And that was important to me. And he was just a little bit worse than me. That was important to me, right? Oh, yeah, because to conclude that others were wrong was as far as I could ever get. And so if you were wrong, that made me right, and that made me feel real good. So that's the only way I could feel good. Anyway, what I also wanted you to believe is that I got pregnant on purpose. I didn't. Is there a woman in Alcoholics Anonymous who did get pregnant on purpose? Come talk to me if you did. At least, well, maybe later in sobriety. And I also didn't want to tell you that I was not able to, what I wanted you to believe is that I was able to stop drinking and doing alcohol's little friends while I was pregnant. And I couldn't. I couldn't do it for the first baby, and I couldn't do it for the second. But I couldn't tell myself the truth about that. So I certainly couldn't tell you. So when I brought that inventory, that first inventory, the first 5 inventories, when I brought those to you, that wasn't even on it. Wasn't even on it. I couldn't. It talks about those who do not recover, those who can't be honest with themselves. Well, sometimes that honesty takes some time. It did in my case. It did in my case, which was what Steve was talking about. What I believe today and what I see today is way different than what I saw before. That's why this big book stays alive for me. It's not because the book changes. It's because I do. Right? And as I change, things take on better meaning, greater meaning, more significance. So, anyway, I had this old boy, and I was not drinking. Well, first of all, okay, wait, hold on. Let me back up. I got ahead of myself. I was with this old boy, have 2 children, drinking like a fish, breaking things on the daily. And let me tell you, I can hit you with a skillet with precision. And I'm not scared to use it. And here's what was happening. I talk about this. We were having hall sex. Right? We'd pass each other in the hall and scream, "Screw you," at the top of our lungs. Alcoholism was ravaging my home. It is absolutely a family illness. And I had 2 little babies who were suffering the weight of that. See, my childhood alcoholism of my siblings ravaged my home there too. And it disintegrated under the weight of alcoholism. So here I am, same situation, only it's me. My family at that time is disintegrating under the weight of alcoholism. You bet it is. You bet it is. And my oldest son, who was 3 when I sobered up, would be cowering in the corner with a bucket on his head. Yeah. Can't get away. Can't get away. Ooh, that's the kind of stuff. And here's the thing. I don't ever want to forget that image as long as I live. Because that is precisely who I am without you and without God in my life. And I'll go back there in a heartbeat. And I believe that with all my heart. I hope you do too. I hope you do too. So, I love that you boys talked about so far, the neglect of your children too. Because, it's the children who suffer so much. And a lot of times when I stand up here and I talk about children and the neglect and the abuse and that kind of thing, people want to say, well, that's a lovely woman's story. But it's not. Because you boys were there too. You boys were there too. And I know you carry things in your heart that break your heart to this day. Just like that image of that little boy with a bucket on his head. Breaks my heart. It says, we will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. Yes, I'm stomping on those feet, stomping on that step. But I asked my sponsor one time, I said, I was gonna bow up to my sponsor because I'm brave like that. And I said, Marty, I got to tell you, I do regret the past. I do regret the past. I don't wish to shut the door on it, but I do regret it. And she says, oh, Marty, darling, Bill Wilson didn't have children. I do. That just gave me a lot of room. Got a lot of room. I regret the pain I caused my children, but I will absolutely not shut the door on it. If I can help one person with what I did, God, it's all yours. It's all yours. And in that way, God has healed me of that hideous shame around all of that stuff. So let's see, step 4 and 5. Whew. All I have to do is continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. And I got this, there was this old guy who sobered up, who was already 1.5 million years sober when I got there in 1989. He looked at me like he was, I don't know, 312. He was probably 65. I'm 60. What am I? 61 right now? 60? I don't even know. Look, after 50, who cares? But he was this old boy from Texas, and he'd stand up there and he'd say, well, his name was Daryl. My name is Daryl. I'm an alcoholic, and I ain't well, but I sure am scabbed over. He helped me more than he'll ever know. So I got sober, and I was excited to be sober. I went to treatment. I didn't volunteer. I was captured, like with a net. Pulled me in, put me in the place that, thank God, introduced me to Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 steps. Thank God. When I got out, I was thrilled to be sober. Thrilled. I really was. And I went into Northland Group of Austin, Texas, and I was lit up, y'all. I wanted to sponsor everybody. Sit still and let me help you. And I just, I love the meetings. I love the laughter. Oh, that's what hooked me so much. Because y'all are just funny. God dang. It just makes me laugh, some of these stories. Ha, 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 6 DUIs. Bah. That's good stuff. I didn't know I could laugh at myself like that because my life had not been a loose garment at all. And so when I was in treatment, I did the worksheets. I didn't know anything. They gave me this giant packet and said, fill it out, and I did. And then this woman, and I was thinking about her this morning, and there was this woman that came to hear my fifth step. I think she slept through it, which was fine. But that didn't stop me from talking for about 5 hours. And I think of the dedication of our members who go and do that, who listen to these absolutely insane people with 15 seconds sober, giving you the great American novel. She just kind of sat there like an old toad. I thought I was going to have some magical experience. I didn't, but I can tell you, or so I thought. At the time, I didn't think I did. But when I was looking back on it this morning, I began to recognize that that was my first inkling of a sense of belonging. Right? I've done it. I can graduate and go home. And wow, what a gift she gave me. What a gift she gave me. But as soon as I got home, I did that, and then 2 or 3 days later, I went home. And what I recognized is there were huge aspects of my life that had not made that 4th step. And I was terrified. You told me to get a sponsor, so I did. And so I called her immediately and said, there's so much stuff on my 4th step that didn't get put down. Ah! And she said, well, let's go. Let's get busy. Let's get busy. And we did. And I love the way she described it. She goes, what happens with our inventories is we write down everything we can. And we share that with someone else. And when we do that, we clear the dead bodies out of the pond. And what does that do? It allows more dead bodies to float to the surface. And that's been my experience. That's absolutely been my experience. So, I thought about it too, and I was thinking, if I jump to the promises, the fifth step promises on page 75, and because I'm a little anxious, I'm going to read it. Because sometimes we want to talk about the fourth and fifth step as being the boogeyman of AA. Oh my God, have you done your fourth step? Oh. And if I look at these promises that says, once we've taken this step, this is in the fifth step, withholding nothing, we are delighted. I don't know about you, but it'd been a long time since I'd been delighted about anything. Or anybody been delighted with me. We can look the world in the eye. We can be alone at perfect peace and ease. Our fears fall from us. We begin to feel the nearness of our Creator. We may have had certain spiritual beliefs, but now we are begin to have a spiritual experience. The feeling the drink problem has disappeared will often come strongly. We feel we're on the broad highway, walking hand in hand with the Spirit of the universe. Yeah, no, I don't want to do that. Why would I want any of that? So I'm not doing the fourth step. Sure, I get it. I get the foot dragging. I get the fear. I remember, too, there was a time in my sobriety when I was with my first husband where I thought if I look too hard, if I look too deep, that if I'm fearless and searching, truly fearless and searching, what I'll discover is I don't want to be married to him. Perhaps we never should have been married in the first place. But I got the dog, the 3 kids, the cars, the things. And I had a value that, if I'm getting married, I should stay married. Not a bad value to have. Not a bad old idea at all. But I had it for sure. And the truth is I didn't have any business being married to him, and he didn't have any business being married to me. But this is what it looks like for me. Now, like I said, I was excited about AA when I got here, excited about being part of the fellowship, excited. And I love what it talks about in the book where it says when a man gets sober, he's going to take one of 2 positions. He's going to pour himself into business or he's going to pour himself into AA. So I spent a bit of time pouring myself into AA, but then I poured myself into business. My business was children. Right? And so I wanted to do all the things. I wanted to make up for all, as if that was going to heal me. Make up for all the stuff I hadn't done. Right? Homeroom mom, PE, soccer mom, ballet mom, name it. Oh, yeah, and I had a little foray into church. I'm going to teach Sunday school because this spiritual giant. Line up, kids. Get that communion hose. But I didn't know what I didn't know. And I love that we're talking about this so much this weekend. I didn't know what I didn't know, and I was doing the best I could. It just wasn't very good. But I didn't drink, miraculously. And I never said, you know what, I'm going to walk away from AA and not go to any meetings. I didn't do that. What I did was got busy. My 5 meetings a week went to 4, went to 3, went to 2, I didn't go get my chip that year. Yeah. But it was all under a good motive, y'all. I mean, nobody was more virtuous than me, just ask me. The trouble was, I had never gotten down to causes and conditions. Oh, yeah, I knew what he did and how he made me feel. But, I never really got into how it disturbed me, what that disturbance was. What I knew how to do is go, screw you, right? But this is, and I would also have told you, without the inventory work I have done since then, I would also have told you that I was a virtuous woman, I was faithful, monogamous, all the things, good girlfriend, great wife. And once I was able to get a little bit more honest with myself, year 25, what I discovered was none of that was true. None of that was true. I was a good girlfriend until I got resentful and angry and frightened and dishonest. And then you don't look so good, but he does. And so I would leap from one to the other. And I did that over and over and over and over. Right? Always an overlap. Always an overlap for me. Now, so I'm married. I got 3 kids. Of course, you know what's going to happen. I don't really have time for AA, but what I really need is some group therapy. Not knocking therapy. Don't mishear me. I'm telling you, I was doing this not alongside AA, but instead of AA. Okay? And of course, there's an old boy in there. Woo-wee, he's cute. And I hate my husband real hard. And so we, of course, become really good friends because that's how I show up. And we become really good friends. And, well, he had the audacity to, I don't know, start smoking crack and some other stuff. So that kind of cooled that for a while. But he comes back in. He gets sober. He's got 5 months. I've got 8 years. I hate my husband. This guy's really cute. He's going to be the answer to my problems. And I have an affair in sobriety. I'd love to stand up here and tell you I didn't. But this is a room of Alcoholics Anonymous. Is there seriously no one else in the room who's had an affair but me? Maybe. But see, I still don't regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. This is who I am. This is some of the stuff that 4th and 5th step have given to me. The ability to stand up here and tell you the truth about who I am, who and what I really am. So I get with this old boy, and I'm going to tell you, he's the love of my life. The love of my life. This is the guy I should have married all along, except for he was drunk for the first 20 years. Not of our relationship, but of, from, I don't know. His story is he had 4 DWIs by 1976 or something. It's like, in Texas, that was real hard to do. They just drove you home back in those days. So... but he's the love of my life, right? And it's really, I know you're going to find this shocking, but it's really hard to have both a husband and a boyfriend. A lot of juggling. And so my husband decided that wasn't so great. And I ended up getting a divorce in sobriety. Painful, awful. Untreated alcoholism, or treating my alcoholism in the way that I was with anything but the steps, was ravaged my family. My family disintegrated under the weight. However, I'm with the love of my life. I still am with him today. We have 25 years together. Not so bad. So we're together, and we get the dog, we got the kids, blending the families. We get a lot of stuff, and we actually are in business that actually does business, but I can tell you what happened is I found myself one day still not doing AA, still not doing it, going to a meeting here and there because he was going to a meeting here and there. And what I did was I found myself nose to nose with him in the kitchen, because I'm not backing up, nose to nose with him in the kitchen, screaming at the top of my lungs one more time, screw you. You bet. More hall sex. See, I showed up one more time. I wasn't any different. I had just changed husbands, kind of like musical chairs, right? Now, I don't want to say anything untoward about my first husband. He's a great man, and he's been a great father. He was just not the husband for me, nor was I the wife for him. And, so I don't want to take anything away from him. I don't want to mock him in any way or disrespect him at all, right? In fact, he and his wife were at our Christmas table this last Christmas. Nothing short of miraculous. And I have you to thank for that. And really great sponsorship. But yeah, we can all be a family today. Remember, we're talking about love this weekend. We're talking about love. And it doesn't mean I get to pick and choose who I love. I'm either practicing spiritual principles or I'm not. I don't get to say, well, I like y'all, so you get spiritual principles, but I don't like you, so you don't. Right? I can give you the cold shoulder. I can be unkind to you. I can treat you poorly and with disrespect. What? See, I have a prayer I like to say, God, I don't know if I'm doing your will, but I hope that my desire to do so pleases you. Be ready if you're going to pray that prayer. I just have to tell you. So the paragraph that was read was that all men of faith have courage. They trust their God. Every single person in this room today has courage. Every single one of you. Because I believe if you're sitting in this room, you want a relationship with your Creator. And I know if you stay here more than today, it's going to change minute by minute, hour by hour. I know mine has. So how did I get here? A lot of what we talk about is, I want to be connected to God. I want to be connected to God. But how do I do that? Sitting in a dark room on a pillow with a candle? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But I'm going to need to do more. This girl right here is going to need to do more. I'm going to need to do that inventory. And it's interesting that they have my husband's name. You got to love this. He's from Texas. He's fifth generation Texan, as they'll tell you. And his name is Cecil. Of course it is. Of course it is. Is that not the greatest name? And I know, and it's pretty funny. About 5 years ago, we moved out to the ranch. It's not a ranch, it's a ranch. You know what I mean? And so it's like I said, it's rather cliche, but yeah. Yes, we have horses and longhorns and all kinds of fun stuff. How did I get here? How did we get there? How did we get from screaming screw you at the top of our lungs to each other to where we are today, which is, I look at it from my perspective as a wonderful love story. Wonderful love story. And two people who, after all these years, truly enjoy each other. Except when he annoys the hell out of me. And you know, I had this eureka moment about a year or two ago when I realized, you know what? I think I annoy the hell out of him too. Shocking. Here I am. I'm the type that thinks I'm killing it every minute of every day. Who wouldn't want all this? So, you know, it talks about, we got the resentment, we got the fear, we got sex, relationships. A lot of you refer to it as relationship inventory. Yeah, right? Sex is kind of scary, or should you say titillating? But when I think of it as relationship inventory, it makes so much more sense. And, I thought, well, how technical do I want to be about this? Really? Like, as already been said, preach it to the choir, right? I'm guessing most of you, if not all of you, have a sponsor and a great lineage of sponsorship. And if you don't have one, you'll be snatched up soon, I promise. I've been hanging around this group for a couple of days now, and it's like, you're not going rogue very long around here. Aren't you lucky? Aren't you lucky to have this incredible fellowship about you? And look, I can see New York City from here. It stretches that far. And beyond. There's people from all over here. So, what I like to think about in the inventory, with my husband Cecil, I probably have written, 512 inventories on him over the years. Because what I believe the inventory process is, to me, is that absolute demonstration of love. I don't write inventory because I hate you. Well, I do hate you when I'm writing it, column 1. Column 2, right? What you've done to me. But it's a demonstration of love. How can I get back to my Creator? And how can I get back to loving you? To loving man. Because I can also say, if I'm mad at Amy over here, it's going to shoot out over here at Bob and Linda. I want to think I can be compartmentalized like I was when I got here. Remember? Where I could have all these compartments going on. Can't do that. So, How technical do I want to be? Well, I can tell you this. So I've written all these inventories on my husband, and that's that demonstration of love, but I also got children. I got grown children. We've got grown children. And here's the thing. Somebody said it's been hard times, it's been weird times, it's been painful times. It's been divisive. My family's been divided. My children have been divided with one another, right? And my daughter got married, and it was it was a very small wedding, and my son and daughter-in-law didn't act very well. And they refused to come to the wedding. And not only that, they refused to offer congratulations and best wishes to his baby sister. Hurt my baby girl deeply. And you know how it is. Go ahead and mess with me. Go ahead. I dare you, but go ahead. Right? But don't mess with my baby. But I got a new sponsor 3 years ago. First thing we started talking about was this child of mine. We're still talking about it. My sponsor doesn't say, oh, honey, we've talked about that 150 times already. We're not going to talk about that anymore. No. We keep talking. In fact, she asked me, how's it going? How's it going? How's it going? So, I can tell you that when we had all this fallout, I called my sponsor. I said, oh, I'm so mad. I'm so mad. This is so wrong. Right? And I said, I just need to take a break. Can I take a break? She said, this is the best sponsorship ever. There was a very long pause on the other end of the phone. Well, she says, you can have a week. Right? I'm either practicing spiritual principles or I'm not. I either want to be a full-fledged member of Alcoholics Anonymous or not. And I want to be. And I want to be. And she reminds me over and over and over, your son loves you and you love him. You need to act like it. But wait, so I get that resentment inventory. And then I find out, and in that resentment inventory, I also discover that fear. I discovered that fear. You know what I'm afraid of? I'm afraid my son's never going to talk to me again. Right? I'm afraid my grandchildren, blah, blah, blah. I'm afraid. And I'm afraid my son doesn't like me. Blah, 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 blah. Right? I said, and I'm going to bolster my case when I'm talking to my sponsor. I'm going to bolster my case. I'm going to say, well, I'm getting ready for our next call, and I'm looking at I'm going to go through my text messages, and I'm going to tell her he's never responded to me. He never does. And I start going through, 2 years worth of text messages because I'm old. I don't know how to delete anything. And when I started talk about perspective that I cannot get on my own. As I go through that, I see he's responded to every single thing I've ever written him. And then some. Right? And here I am playing the victim, feeling completely sorry for myself. Manifestations of self. You think I don't feel sorry for myself? Oh, yeah, all the time. All the time. It talks about on that step 4, what are we doing here? That commercial inventory. Right? If I don't take the inventory, I'm going to go broke. Boy, I've done that enough to know. That fact-finding, fact-facing process. It's my sponsor's job to find those facts, or whoever's listening to my fifth step, but it's my job to face them. I don't always like to face them. Painful. It's painful. I'd like to tell you that, Linda was talking about, doesn't want to make anybody behave and all that kind of thing, and well, I do, and I had gotten invited to babysit for my son and daughter-in-law, and I'd gone over there, and I'd love to tell you I don't go upstairs and snoop, but I had to change a diaper, right? So, I'm just acutely aware. I'm not overly sensitive. I'm acutely aware. So I'm like, da, 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 da. Ooh, I see the book on the nightstand. Don't like it. Don't like that book. Ooh, don't like that book over here. Ooh, oh, I see what they're up to. I see what they're up to, right? And I don't like it. They got a brand of spirituality, and I don't like it. They haven't run any of it past me, right? Of course they haven't. I look like a nut to them, right? Let's face it. And I got to tell you, so I've done the inventory on my daughter-in-law, several of them, right? Do that writing. Done the fifth step on her. She's still the same. But my son bought a new house, and, because I've got this great direction of, you make that outreach every week. You keep doing it, you keep praying for God to soften their heart. You keep doing this, And I don't know about you, but I have so much respect and a little bit of fear for my sponsor. When she offers me a suggestion, I do it. It's kind of a two-step process. Ask your sponsor for direction, then carry it out. Just in case. Pro tip. There's a pro tip. So I went over to their house, right? Their new house, and they're very excited, they're very proud, and they should be. And I can see that my daughter-in-law's been studying the Bible. And that's great. Good for her. Thank God, right? And it's not AA approved literature. But because of the inventory process, I'm telling you, she was very chatty with me that day. I was like, oh, okay, I'll play. You know what? I'm from the South. I can talk for hours about nothing, as you're experiencing right now. Right? So I can talk. I can chat you up. Mm-hmm. And so, and we spent an hour talking about the house and about things, not philosophy, but things that were important to her. And when I left there, it was so clear to me, because remember, I'm removing the obstacles that stand in my path, that stand in my way, and desperately wanting this to happen. And what if, just what if, that's the voice that comes in as I'm driving away. So what if this was her spiritual demonstration? What? Huh? Is it possible that whatever spiritual principles she's practicing has just been demonstrated to you? Now, do I have to agree with it? Do I have to? See, really what I want to do is sign off. Right? I want you tell me what you're doing, and I'll sign off. You go, girl. Right? And neither my son nor daughter-in-law is giving me that opportunity. So, when my children aren't talking to each other, I want to take sides. Right? Old ideas. That's what good moms do. They fight for truth and justice. I've decided what truth and justice is. Why? I've just designated myself that. And I want to pick sides. And what? Is there love in that? That's just forming alliances one more time, which my inventory shows up. One of my character defects all the time. Come on, be on my team. We'll win. I find that when I have, it talks about resentment being the number one offender. And I always look at the next line that says, from it stem all forms of spiritual disease. And I ask you to challenge yourself today and say, what form of spiritual disease am I practicing today? Is it showing up? Maybe you don't have any. I do. It used to have to be really gross, or grotesque, like having an affair or stealing money or, these kinds of things. And it doesn't look like that for me. I'll tell you, just a little one the other day. So my husband planned this big trip for us, big expensive trip, and snow skiing, which I don't even do, but that's what we're going to go do, and lots of people are coming with us. It's a big deal. It's real important to him. Real important to him. And, it sounds like it's going to be fun. I'll go. I'm in. And yet I had been invited to attend an event similar to this that I'd been invited to multiple times. Could never go, blah, blah, blah. Guess what? Queen of the overlap. Got the trip, got this other commitment. Now, what it looks like for me is I'm going to lie. First thing I'm going to do is I'm not going to tell him about it because I'm terribly inconsiderate. But I'm not going to tell him about it. I'm going to get it all worked out. And then once I've got the plan all figured out, all the pieces in place, I'll let him know. Ha ha ha, isn't that funny? Look what I did. Ha ha ha, darling. And I just couldn't do it. But the anxiety and the stress, let me tell you how it wasn't a resentment, it was more of a fear. But what happened is suddenly I become very, very irritable. Shocking, I know. But very irritable. He couldn't do anything right if his name was do something right. He couldn't. You right? Everything got on my nerves. You know why? Because I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think, and I'm trying to think about me. One more time, getting completely consumed with self. I can't get out of it by myself. It's got to go on paper for me. It's got to be shared with someone else. When I finally said, boo, I have completely jacked this up. And, our trip ends on Friday. I got to be somewhere else on Friday. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to handle this. And he looks at me and goes, well, honey, we can figure this out. I'm like, oh, you see, I didn't see that coming. Because I've been trying to think, right? I've been trying to think. And isn't it funny? I don't know about you, but every time I'm thinking, the car goes off the cliff and goes into a fiery crash. Kaboom, right? It's never, oh, tweet, 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 and everything's happy. Oh, rainbows and butterflies. No. It's fiery crash for me or nothing. So, it talks about, I remember, once I had my little foray into not using the steps to treat my alcoholism, I got in so much pain that I knew I needed a sponsor. See, I'd love to be like these guys here who said, I came in 712 years ago, and while I've had a little peaks and valleys, I've done it the same way ever since. I sponsor people like that. I'm like, no. I'm more like, whoa. Let's see if this will work. Nope. How about that? Nope. But so at about 8 years sober, I got a sponsor. About 90 days later, I called her. And I knew I was in trouble. And I had no idea how much trouble I was in. No idea. Right? And so, and I got busy one more time. I started treating my alcoholism with the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. Amazing what changes will take place if you do it that way. And so, wow. I got really busy. I got really excited. I had a woman come up to me, and I was going to this meeting, y'all, that was, we'll say, quirky. Nobody there had a book. Nobody there, they talked about their inner child a lot. It was supposed to start at 9. It started about 9:11, 9:12. Never stopped at 10, kind of thing. And wow. But I can tell you, if I'd have walked into a meeting with Bob or Steve or Amy or Ralph at that time, I probably would have just caught on fire and ran out the door. You probably would have lost me. But I didn't. And so I got into that quirky meeting until that quirky meeting didn't fit anymore. And the thing is, a woman asked me to sponsor her in that meeting. And I thought, sure I can. Let me get on that with you, because I've got a hefty message of depth and weight. But I like to say, when that woman asked me to sponsor her, she saved my life. She did, because that's when I really started to get busy. When I really, because of my ego, that's what I love about God. He's going to meet me exactly where I am. Every single time. He's like, "Ooh, this girl's got so much pride and ego." And if I went at her, thinking she had humility, it wouldn't work. But, so I wanted to get that. I went out and got a book. I got a sponsor. I got busy. I started doing the inventory. And I can tell you that my experience is that it's plain that a life which includes deep resentment leads only to futility and unhappiness. I squandered so much time. My husband and I used to have a fight on Thursday and not speak to each other until Saturday. That's sober, y'all. That's sober. Right? And it's then that I began to understand that when I began to write those inventories and then bring them to my sponsor, that what was happening was that there's going to be a change, but it's only going to be in me. Thank God that it's going to be in me. I can tell you, there's so many lines in this book. It talks about fancied or real, how much people really dominate me. And I'd love to tell you that people don't dominate me to this day. But, it wasn't but about a month ago where my sponsor said to me, "Oh, honey, I wonder how long it's going to be before you stop twisting yourself into a pretzel so that people like you." Oh, ouch, right? Ouch. But it's so true. It's so true. I can do that, and so I can have all these resentments, and I can't wish them away. I've certainly tried. Talks about in columns 1 and 2, columns 2 and 3. That when it's going into this is our course, we realize that the people who wronged us were perhaps spiritually sick, though we didn't like their symptoms. That's column 2. And the way they disturbed us, that's column 3. They, and this is really highlighted in my book, like ourselves, we're sick too. We're sick too. And it's just, I'm just praying all through this. We're asking God, to help us show tolerance, pity, patience. Patience. I think today's probably the first day I've actually seen the word patience. Right? Because I am impatient. That we would cheerfully grant a sick friend. Of course. What really revolutionized my idea of the inventory process, step 4, was when it talks about resolutely looking for my own mistakes. The mysterious 4th column, if you're into that. Right? And it took me a long time to really, really believe where it says, though a situation had not been entirely our fault, we tried to disregard the other person entirely. So what you're telling me is, I can't blame him anymore. Or her. Right? What you're trying to tell me is, this is all about me. But here's the good news. If the problem is me, there's a solution. If the problem is you, I'm dead in the water. I'm dead in the water. And so is our relationship. Right? The inventory is ours and not the other man's. It's reviewing our fears. I always find those fears in that 3rd column. I can do a fear inventory too. Sometimes I don't have a resentment in connection with them. But, it always comes down to, sometimes I want to make it really complicated. Right? Oh, I'm afraid of, and then I can take it out 400 miles And the truth of the matter is, it's really simple. Isn't it because self-reliance failed us? And what is self-reliance? I'm trying to think. I'm trying to figure it out. Right? Trying to figure it out. That's as clear as I can get on self-reliance. And when it made us cocky, it made us worse. And that took me a long time to understand, too. I just keep saying, this all took me a really long time to understand. Because it did. And I know that, 10 years from now, I'll be saying the same thing. But I'll be saying it about a much different deal. When it talks about being able to match calamity with serenity, I just wanted to be able to somehow manifest being serene. And that's not what it's asking me to do. It's asking me to trust infinite God rather than my finite self. Trouble is, when I'm new in here, I can't trust God. I can't trust me. I can't trust you. I can't trust anything. So getting any kind of serenity took me quite some time. And Steve said so beautifully, we're here to play the role that he assigns. And what is that? I don't know most of the time. But I'm now on a different basis. I'm trying to be on a different basis. I want desperately to be on a different basis. Of course, once I can do as I think he would have me, humbly rely on that. And I got to share with someone the other day that, I absolutely humbly rely on my God today. We sit around and we get to talk about the miracles in each other's lives over and over and over. And when you tell me what happens in your life, and you tell me what happens in your life, and you tell me what happens in your life, and I sit back and I go, I know. Because I knew God was going to show up for you. I got to talk with Jenny, and I know God's going to show up for her. I know that without question. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I know that it's going to show up in a way that I could never possibly imagine. And my prayer for you is that it's absolutely filled with love. And I know that it will be. I know that. And for a gal who came in as insane as I was, and who was rather an outright mental defective for a significant period of time without taking a drink, that's a remarkable thing. It's nothing short of miraculous. It's nothing short of miraculous. The fact that I can, everything I've learned about life has been from you. Everything. I shudder to think. When I got here, I weighed 89 pounds, which is, I'll help you, 45 pounds lighter than I am now. I was an organ failure, right? And I really thought I was killing it. I really did. I thought it was everyone else. I believed that. And you weren't going to shake it. There was no human power that was going to shake that belief. And yet there I was, just a shell of a human being. And here I can stand today. Oh my God. Not having had a drink in 32 years. Having a family that, while it may be divided, while it may be painful, while it may be difficult at times, the thing I'm aiming for more than anything else is love. Love for you. Love with you. Love from you. Receiving love is not much easier than giving it, is it? We look at that relationship inventory, and man, when it says, where have I been selfish, dishonest, inconsiderate? I got to tell you, one time I went to my husband. He was mad at me. Shocking. Because I'd been a schmuck, right? I'd made plans. One more time, I made plans and forgot to let him know what they were. And I looked at him, and here's how I was going to clean it up. Right? Ready for this? I said, Boo, let me just tell you, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to I really didn't mean to do this, but I got to tell you, I just didn't think about it. I just didn't think about you. And I was waiting for him to go, oh, that's all right, honey. And he didn't. And he looked at me and he said, you know what? That is the deepest cut of all. You didn't think of me at all. Like, oh, wow. And it's then that inconsiderate began to take on a whole new level of understanding for me. See, I had those old ideas that said, you're not the boss of me, and I'm not asking you for permission, and you can't tell me what to do. I don't care if we are married, right? By golly. And what I got to learn through this process is that I don't take care of you. I get to take care with you. That's different, right? Because I sure as heck wasn't going to take care of you. No, ma'am. No, sir. Right? And what's wrong with being kind? What's wrong with being generous with my spirit, with my time, with my thoughts, with my love? What's wrong with that? Why am I so pissed off all the time? Because you know what? And what I learned was that I was terrified. Terrified. I'm the type that just shows up madder than a wet hen. And I'm just terrified. Terrified of what? I don't even know most of the time, right? We got a saying in my house that says, well, if you did know, what would you say? Because I like to say, you know what I like to say? I like to say, I don't know. Right? So that I can continue being a victim. I don't know. Right? I can continue feeling sorry for myself. I feel overwhelmed. I don't know. Yeah, you do. You just don't want to say it. You don't want to say it because you're scared. Right? I don't want to say it because I'm scared. Oh, man. I like that it says on page 69, we ask God to mold our ideals and help us to live up to them. That's an incredible prayer. Incredible prayer. Asking God to mold our ideals and help us live up to them. You mean what you're telling me is I'm going to stop running on my own power. You think, well, didn't we cover that in steps 1 through 3? Well, I'm still working on it. I need all 12 steps to have that spiritual awakening. I can't just take this one and this one and this one. I'm going to have a spiritual experience, but I want a whole spiritual awakening. Like they say, like the old timers used to say, you don't have to accept breadcrumbs. Go for the whole loaf. That's what I want today. And whatever our ideal turns out to be, we must be willing to grow toward it. Am I willing to grow toward it? Am I willing to grow toward my ideal? What an ideal woman is. What an ideal wife is. What an ideal mother is. What an ideal employee is. Oof. Right? I know. My boss has to make the inventory too. I like that. Ha! From the back. Yeah. Okay. I'm with you over there. I remember discovering through the inventory process that I hated every boss I ever had. I didn't start out hating them. They were great. Best boss I ever had. Just like any other relationship I'd ever been in. They were great. Till they weren't. Right? Until I showed up. Until the real me showed up. Thinking I'm better than you. Thinking I'm smarter than you. Thinking I'm more hardworking than you, certainly more organized than you, right? I really should be the boss. Oh, but I don't want the responsibility. Yeah, it's 5 o'clock. Bye. Right? And all of this stuff that it talks about and it covers on all of these pages, is all about getting back to God, asking God for help. I love that it says, I just want more God in my life, more God in my life. Well, this is how I start to get it. This is how I start to get that conscious contact. I like that it says I'm going to swallow and digest large chunks of truth about myself. That I am a crummy employee, that I am a crummy wife, that I have been a neglectful mother. All of these things, large chunks of truth about myself, and yet still, when I flip over to the fifth step, it says, we've admitted certain defects. Well, just a couple. Put a finger on them, right? But it's more action. And I think the much more important, a very, very significant part of my recovery is being able to not only read my fourth step and do the fifth step, but to listen. And I think that's a significant part. You talk about a sense of belonging. That sense of belonging I get when I've listened to someone else's inventory, when I've watched someone else connect with that power greater than themselves, when I've seen God just whoosh right in. I mean, you can feel the wind blow when someone brings you that sincere and honest and fearless and searching moral inventory and sits down knee to knee with me, has chosen me to be the one to hear this stuff. What a privilege. What an honor. What a responsibility. And it's remarkable, and I love what Steve was talking about. Well, I see the call and I go, oh, sure. I'd love to hear your fifth step. Yeah. Nothing I'd rather do than spend Saturday afternoon listening to you. And it's so funny. That's how I show up on the front end. And when it's done, I thank God from the bottom of my heart that I know Him better too. We get to be part of an organization, a movement, if you will, that actively seeks God, that actively cleans house, and that deliberately helps others. I'm not saying there aren't other movements that do the same thing. Of course there are. This is the one I can hear in. This is the one that I can feel a part of. This is the one where I feel like I can belong. Because I can tell you my dark past, and you go, ha, 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 me too. Me too. I don't have to be ashamed in here. And you love me anyway. And you know what? I get to love you. I get to love you. I talk about, too, that I came in here in October of 1989 and you saved my life. And not only that, you saved the life of my family. Absolutely. It talks about alcoholism annihilates all whose lives touch the sufferers. Recovery enhances all whose lives touch the recoverers. Right? Without question. Take a minute and think about, Karen talks about her network, and how beautiful it is and how extensive it is. You can look at Jimmy and Mary Beth, and their network goes around the world. How did drunks like us show up here and get that? Like they say, if I'd have gotten what I deserved, I'd have been dead a long time ago. But my God is powerful, and my God is merciful, and my God is full of grace. Full of grace. And even though when I have those times when I'm just trying to think, right? My God is no less merciful, no less powerful, no less loving. Sometimes He goes like this. Well, sugar britches, you just let me know when you're ready. Let me know when you're done thinking. I'm trying to thank God. And here we are. Here we stand. Here we sit, shoulder to shoulder. Yeah, I got an old timer in my group that says, you know what? I might have been here a lot of years, but the truth of the matter is, I'm just a few hundred yards in front of you. I love being able to look at someone and say, oh, I know what's in store for you. If you just come in, sit all the way down and just stay and do the things. Do the things. Listen to your sponsor. Take those suggestions. Get that stuff on paper. Get those promises that I started off with, where you can look the world in the eye. Be alone at perfect peace and ease. Those are magnificent promises for a girl like me. Magnificent. Magnificent. the miracles that have happened in my family. Christmas with my ex-husband. Thank you. That is a miracle. Nothing short of a miracle. Sugar, most of us got one of those, except for Bob and Linda, Steve and Connie. And thank God, because what my daughter said to me that Christmas was that, you know what? We got our childhood back. Right? My daughter's 28. They'd been doing 2 Christmases. She'd been doing 2 Christmases since she was 4. Bless her heart. I got my childhood back. And we all sat at the same table for hours and had a good time. And guess who's coming to dinner this Christmas? Of course, because we're family. That's one of the yet so many miracles that I could never have imagined, right? I didn't see it coming. Hey, you know what we're going to do this Christmas, honey? We're going to have my ex-husband and his wife over. How do you feel about that? Yes, I did ask him before I invited this time. But you know what? For me, what I like to think about too is it's all about saying yes. I pray for the power to do, what is it? What am I praying for? Knowledge of God's will. Thank you, Lee. Knowledge of God's will and the power to carry it out. Right? Well, then when I get it, why do I balk? Right? Why? What? And I ask myself, what is my resistance to that ongoing spiritual experience? Because I'm trying to think. Because I don't want perfect peace and ease and comfort. All the things. Anyway, I don't know what I talked about on steps 4 and 5. Not much, really. But I can tell you this, that I love Alcoholics Anonymous. I love it from the bottom of my heart. I get to look out and see each person I see in this room today represents so many more people. So many more people. Your children, your parents, your siblings, your co-workers, your community. We actually become, as Bill Wilson says, citizens of the world. Who knew? I just wanted to get out of my living room. And I couldn't even do that. So, G. Willikers. I like how Ralph closes. My name is Marti Ruby, and I'm an alcoholic. Thank you. Terrible.
This is so mean. Thank you so much.